right in your own backyard, like not literally in your own backyard with for sale sign, but right in your town or city that are selling hundreds and hundreds of homes year after year. Now, this is astronomically more than what the average agent sells on a yearly basis, which is between like 3 and 4 homes a year. So the big question is this: how does someone get into real estate, get started from being a brand new agent who knows basically nothing about the business at all to selling hundreds of properties a year? That's my question. And in this episode of the Modern Agent Live, we are going to answer this question because my guest today has been selling hundreds of homes a year. And not only does he sell hundreds of homes a year, he does it in a very unique way using a modern real estate model that has allowed him to scale his business across the country. So please welcome my guest today, straight out of Springboro, Ohio, via Dallas, Texas, the Chief Visionary Officer at the Love Ohio Living Team. I love that name. It's hard to say 10 times fast, right?
Yeah.
A respected colleague,
right here.
industry leader, Mike Wall. Man, Mike, what kind of machine are you building out there in Ohio?
Oh man, a machine. I like it. I love it, man. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Jeff Ruby, for getting me on the show finally. I've been waiting for you to ask me. The great thing about what we do is that it's like you said, there's a model, right? I'm not a very smart guy. And like Jay Kinder says, I just always sat next to that person, right? It's always been R&D for me. It's rip off and duplicate. The industry by and large is not that complicated. I think most people just overcomplicate it. And so, I'm obviously very fortunate to be in a marketplace that our model is working very well. And, I'm aligned with people like you, with people like Jay Kinder, with people like Al Stasic, with people like Mike Reese. And it's really been a pleasure for me to, be a part of your circle, their circle. And what we're doing here has just been an incredible journey for me, brother.
Yeah. And it's really fun to watch the progression of so many different agents' business, and specifically to yours. And we're going to dive into that because you are a rarity in the business, the top 1% of all agents out there as far as your volume. But we're going to get into some of the specific strategies and tactics and some things that you're doing, leveraging the model to be able, and we'll explain what that is in a bit too. But before we get right into that, Mike, tell us your story. Let our audience and our viewers know who you are. Like, what did you do before real estate?
Sure.
What was it that got you started, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yep, absolutely, man. So I've actually had a real estate license since 2001, believe it or not. I got into the business when I was 24 years old, and I sought out a mentor, a guy named Phil Herman, who worked for Remax, was a big real estate agent back in the day. Probably one of the first people in our marketplace that I know of that ran a team successfully. And so I figured when I got my real estate license, I didn't know much. So why not go learn from somebody that did? And I put my real estate license with him, who was at Remax at the time. And it was a great experience for me. I learned a ton. I was with Phil for all of 8 years, and the housing market crashed in 2008. And I tried to ride it out for a couple of years, and just didn't work, man. And so I put my license with a friend of mine who had a small brokerage, and I went into corporate America, and I started working for a company that sold copiers and data print solutions. And I did that for 5 years and was just miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I knew I wanted to get back in real estate. I just didn't know how and when. And so in late October, early November of 2014, I started calling expireds. I had an outside sales job, and I'd start calling expireds before I started work. And what happened was by May of 2015, I had 44 homes listed. And I went to my wife and I said, hey, listen, it's costing me more to be on my corporate job than it is to be in real estate. Can I get your permission to quit? You know what I mean? Because I'm married. We have 2 children, and that was a big decision at the time. And she said, I fully support you, go ahead and quit your corporate job. And that's what I did. And that first year, full time, listing and selling, went out and sold 59 houses. And then continue to build on my expired platform. The second year, hired an admin, sold 104 houses. The third year, sold 189 houses. The fourth year, sold 304 houses. And then started just building through people. My model totally changed. I fell out of love with traditional real estate and fell in love with helping agents grow their businesses. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I'm out of production now. I don't really sell a lot of houses unless it's a close personal friend or somebody who has been a part of our lives in the respect of, right now I'm working with somebody who was an aide. I have an autistic son who's 18 years old. He's had an aide since he was 2 years old, and I'm working with their family. We just bought a 37-acre farm, and so I was working with them. But for the most part, it's just daily working with agents, man, and I love it. I have never had so much fun in my entire life, and I could go back and work traditional real estate again and probably make a lot more money, but it's just not the life that I'm looking for. I would rather make half the money and be able to go out and do what I'm passionate about. And I'm very fortunate, Jeff, to be doing that today.
Yeah. And that's, it's amazing to see your first year. I got to go back. How many did you say you did your first year?
So 59 houses first year.
So 59 houses in your first year.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that time when you were a brand new agent.
Yeah.
And you were about to embark on this mission where I know you didn't think you were, well, maybe you thought you could do 59 homes, but that's a huge number for any agent, especially in the first year. What were you alluded to these a little bit, but what were your biggest challenge? What was your biggest challenge or challenges when you first got started?
I think it's like anybody else, is just knowing what to do. And I was fortunate enough to come across something that I was really good at or all in at with the expireds. And there wasn't nearly as much competition back in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. And there were more expireds, not like there are today where everything's selling in, a day or so, where not a lot's expiring. But so some of it's timing, but it's like anything else. Like I always say, the best thing to do in real estate, there's a myriad of different things you can do. Every time you turn around, somebody's trying to sell you something different, right? And one thing that I always thought that was something that helped propel my growth and help me scale was the fact that I niched first. And I would suggest that to anybody watching this, is that you niche. And then what you do is you niche, you master, you leverage, you repeat. You niche, you master, you leverage, you repeat. And so what that means is niche, find something that you're good at, right? Like for me, it was expired leads, right? And do it really well, optimize it. I did a video about this a few weeks ago. I talked about find out whatever you're doing in your business right now and then double down on it. What I mean by that is when I first started calling expireds, Jeff, I was literally going into the MLS. I would click on that, that highlighted URL with the number of expireds, and it would show me the properties that expired. And then I would literally go into the tax records and cross-reference those with the white pages and try to pull up phone numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't have any money to invest in my real estate business. And, that took a lot of time. And over time, what happened is the more properties I listed, the more I optimized my time, right? I started getting better. I signed on with RedX, right? Which is a company that essentially delivers expireds right into your inbox every day. And so I was able to shorten, the amount of time, the amount of manual labor spent on researching those expireds by having them delivered, right? And so when I did that, it allowed me to do more of what I was really good at and what I was passionate about and what was helping grow the business, which is talking to people on the phone. And, that's why I say, so niche, you niche. I niched with expireds. I mastered, right? I optimized my time. I got really good at it. And then I leveraged it out. And leverage is, to me, it means a key hire, right? So put somebody in place you think that can replace you or do about as 80 to 85% as good as you. and then you repeat it into something else, right? And so that's what we've done, just incrementally, is niche, master, leverage, repeat.
Yeah, that is really cool, because it's like, it's simple, not easy. And what you've broken down, you've simplified, and you've hit so many different topics, from a niche as far as your lead generation, getting it going, knowing that it works, and then doubling down on that.
Yeah.
And then leveraging through people. So having your systems in place to be able to then bring people in to take that, like you said, that 80 to 85%. Right. That's huge, which leads me into my next question is, you grew quickly, 59 in your first year. Most agents don't do that. So for agents that are just getting going, and they may have a few transactions under their belt, how would you suggest, or how do you know when you've gone from that, okay, I'm a brand new agent, to now moving into the building phase? Because the way I break it down is, in our program with the Modern Agent Academy, we have a 100-day launch plan. And that 100 days consists of everything that a new agent needs to build a solid foundation to then start building upon.
Yep.
So when did you hit that spot? And then what did you do to move from launch into the build phase?
Yeah, it's a great question, man, because, the number one reason people fail in our industry is it's a lack of good information. And the reason why most people fail is because they're not seekers. Doesn't mean that they're not good at real estate. In fact, most people, there's three types of people, right? There's three agents. There's your seekers, and those are the people that they're consuming information all the time, right? They're all constantly looking for things. They're researching. And then there's a second kind of agent, which is the agent that will, if you give them the information and help them make sense of it, they will implement it and use it into their businesses. And then there's a third kind of agent who doesn't care at all, and they don't seek information. And if you give it to them, they won't implement it. So there's three kinds of agents. Most people are the second kind. And here's why there's such a big failure rate in our industry is most brokerages, they hire pretty much anybody. And it's really a disservice to the person that they're bringing in, because they simply don't have the bandwidth to be able to educate that individual. In other words, they can't meet that person where they're at because they have too many people. And I've always been a proponent of joining a team first, because when you have a team, you work in a smaller circle. And usually you have a team leader who's committed to the success of their team, and which means that individual has much more bandwidth than the broker does, right? If I'm managing 250 agents, it's really hard for me to spend time with you, Jeff, and meet you where you're at to help you get your business going, versus someone like me who runs a team of 15. I can meet with my people daily if I need to. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the reason why people fail in our industry is they simply don't get the information that they need in order to succeed, because they're that second type of person, the person that if you give them information, they will try and make sense of it if you sit down with them, and if you build out a plan for them, they will take action on it. And it's not a character flaw at all. It's just the way they are. It really is, because that's the difference between the seeker and the non-seeker. So to your point, what I think that if you find the people, like, I love the fact that you're putting out this program. Now it's just up to you to get it into the right hands, right? And that's why we're doing this podcast, is so that you can ensure that you have a digital footprint to deliver out to the agent community by and large, not only to the seekers, right, but also the non-seekers. And see, that's the more challenging piece, is to get this into the hands of the right people, because they will act on it, and they will be able to build from it.
That was a lot. That was a lot, Mike. You had me going in all sorts of different directions on where to go from here, but you're exactly right. To be able to get this information into different types of people's hands, because there are those three types of people, as you mentioned. So, man, 200. So you have a team. How many did you say? 15?
Well, just locally here in my marketplace, we have 15 people on our team, right? So I'm
Okay.
actively working with those people. And I know kind of where you're going with this because we are fortunate enough to be able to work in a company that can grow much larger teams than that. And we can talk a little bit about the model, but what's really cool, like what you were talking about before we got into this whole thing, is really building out the foundation. And now we're at a point now to where we've built out the foundation, and we can deliver this into any marketplace. Does that make sense? Because the principles that make you successful in real estate, they've never changed. They really haven't changed. Everybody that's successful in real estate, they all do the same thing. And what it is they have conversations with people who are looking to buy and sell. That's it. But every sale you've ever had in real estate all started with one thing, and it was a conversation. And so the next logical question becomes, well, how do I scale the number of conversations I can have on a daily basis, right? And there's a myriad of different ways you can do that right now with, phone calls, with social media, with email, with texting, with, AI. There's just so many different things you can do, but you still have to do it on a daily basis. It's important that you scale the number of conversations you have. Because again, that, the first part is getting the information out to the people. The second part is taking action on it, right? And so that's part of that whole formula where you have to take action. It really is not that hard, man. It really is like run. Like I always use the example of running a marathon, right? It's like all it really is if you think about it, it's just putting one foot in front of the other for 26.2 miles. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Now, is it easy? No, it's not easy to run a marathon, but it really only is putting one foot in front of the other for 26.2 miles. That's all it is. And real estate's exactly the same way, man. It really is.
Yeah. Longevity. It's longevity, and it's continuing to do the same things over and over that are producing the results. And in your case, it was expireds.
Yep.
You were able to build a huge organization now, which we'll get into in a minute, through calling expireds, which most people go, oh gosh, I don't want to pick up the phone and call expireds, but you found a niche in that. And that was what allowed you to establish that foundation there.
But think about what that is really at its core. All calling expireds is at its core. Think about what I just said is it's scaling the number of conversations you have, right? Just happen to be the category of expireds, but put any category there. It's still all just conversations with people who are looking to buy or sell. That's all it is. So whatever you want to do to have those conversations, you do that, but just make sure you do it, because if you don't, you won't sell anything. Yeah.
Yep. And structured conversation, but at the same time, you're better off picking up the phone, making the calls, floundering through it, learning through that process, and knowing that it's going to take some time to build up the thick skin. But like you said, one foot in front of another. Yep. So, if you're a new agent watching this, or you're thinking about getting your license, just know that it is one foot in front of the other. You do have to pick a foundational model of lead generation, which Mike's talking about, to build off of. From there, you can implement more systems and tools, hire out leverage and those types of things to move forward. But let's get back to your team. So you have 15 people locally on your team. We're going to call this a traditional real estate team.
I do.
How many are on your full team?
So a total, we have probably right around 100.
Okay, hold on a second. So 15 locally, but you have 100 total. Yeah. Explain.
So it's interesting, huh? How that works, right? And by the way, I was a previous Keller Williams agent. I was with Keller Williams for 3 years. We loved our time there. In fact,
me too. Yeah.
We were opening a new office right south of town. There's literally one office left to open up in our area. We were a part of the leadership team, the ownership team. We picked out a building, and this idea of EXP was delivered onto my lap, and I was told, hey, take a look at this before you make the decision to open that Keller Williams. And we did. And it was like, once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? And the problem we were always trying to solve, and I promise you this is going somewhere that's related to our organization. The problem we were always trying to solve was recruiting and retention. And because what we did at Keller Williams is we would build these agents up. They would be really successful, and then they would just leave. And that was very frustrating, man. It was good that it felt good to be able to build people up and that they would take their careers off. But what didn't feel good or or what kind of hurt, I guess, at the end of the day was the fact that we would never get anything else from that. And and so when this model of EXP was delivered into my lap, and I looked at it, it was like, oh my gosh, they figured it out. You know, they actually figured it out, because now we were able to, once we decided to make the switch, now we were able to not only bring people into our environment on our team, we were able to build them up. They could leave and it didn't matter anymore. And it didn't matter because of the revenue share component that came with EXP. In fact, it was better because we run a mega team, right? And when you run a mega team, you bring your team members over at a quarter cap, which is about $4,000. And so people in your revenue share group, and I don't want to get too technical here, but you're only getting a percentage of that cap, right? But so when they leave, it moves from 4,000 to 16,000. So it actually makes the pot a little bit bigger. And so, and we've always encouraged growth anyway. Like my goal in real estate, Jeff, and I'm making it really clear this year, is to bring agents in, coach them up, and eventually they go off on their own and create, you know, whatever they're looking to create in real estate, be it, you know, selling 50 homes a year, selling 150, selling 500, it doesn't matter. And the model now, the way it's built out is it encourages that even more so now. So I can be truly excited and happy for these people when they decide to launch their own businesses under our umbrella, because we're going to consistently be there with them, and we're going to still make the revenue share, the profit from the money, that the revenue that the company gives us. And we've just continued to build on that and grow, man. And we're having a lot of fun with it. And, you know, as well as I do, we have an incredible camaraderie with the folks we're in business with here. Nothing like I've ever seen before, not with Keller Williams, not with any other company that I've been with. And people are just open to sharing. The growth we've experienced here has been incredible. And we're continuing to work to build our team, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah, and that's awesome, Mike. I love that, because we are in complete alignment when we see that. So my story's fairly similar. You know, I was back at Keller Williams. This was in 2015. I was first introduced to the productivity coach position, which basically was an agent in the Keller Williams Market Center in a brick and mortar office who would work with new and non-producing agents to help them get into production quickly. Mm-hmm. And what I found at that point was, like, I loved that. So I was actually going out and talking to everybody in the office and getting everybody excited about getting into this program. We launched it. It was amazing. I loved it. And I realized that I actually loved that more than the sales piece. I was making more money selling homes, but I was getting more fulfillment in helping agents. And then that just kind of kept snowballing as I created more and more opportunities for myself. And then in 2018, I realized, wow, you know, I can actually do the same thing and build my organization and have the opportunity to help new and non-producing agents get into production quickly, and not be concerned with bringing them on my team, training them, coaching them up, giving them all the tools and resources, and then being afraid they're going to leave and go out on their own. Yeah. Right. Even if they stayed with the same company, the fact that they left my traditional team and went out and did their own, it's like they took everything that I poured into them and then just did it all themselves, which we want them to do that now with our EXP model, because now they can then tap into the same thing that we're doing and go from, how long did it take you to build a team to 15 agents? You got in 2001?
Yeah. Oh, it took 5 years, man.
It took 5 years. And how long has it taken for you to get from 15 to 100?
3.
And how many of those 100 did you personally bring in?
I've got, let's see, 24 of them. Okay.
Good for you, man. That's great. So you brought in 24 people, which has gone now to 100. So you kind of guessing you don't really even know those other 75, right? Maybe a little?
Yeah.
But you have an incentive now. You have a financial incentive. You also have a personal incentive, because it drives you. It gives you fulfillment to help these agents be successful. Not only does it grow your team, but it helps them grow their team. Right. And like, that is just like, it's it's just such a great model. It's so awesome to see. I'm actually looking at a picture of your Jeep too. So going off on a tangent here. My gosh, Mike. Well, this is great. You're building a new house too, aren't you?
Building a new house, man. We again, I don't want this to turn into an EXP commercial, but you can tell, man, I'm really passionate about it. Obviously, we cashed some stock out back in January when the stock was about $80 a share. This has just been an amazing. I'm so glad, Jeff. We went, because I came over in 18 too. That's when you came over, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then
we came over right around the same time. We were in February. When did you come?
I came in March, and then you and I in June at the shareholders event.
Right.
We started chatting about stuff, and it was like, man, we have a lot of stuff in common.
Yeah. And then, so I think back then the stock was like 11, maybe no, it was like $7 or $9 a share. And
yeah.
Then it went up to like, at one point it was 180. It was right after I sold it at $80 a share. I sold some of it. We had 21,000 shares, and I sold like $500,000 worth. And so we paid cash for this lot. We're building our dream house now. And again, this is just one of those things. We're still doing the exact same stuff we did at Keller Williams.
Yeah.
We just have different buckets now that we're generating income from that we didn't have there, right?
We have an opportunity now that we never had. Right. Flipping the traditional model really on its head, giving us a piece of ownership. As soon as we sell a house with EXP, we become an owner. We are handed shares of stock. We also have a discount plan and what have you. But what's really interesting, Mike, is we've gone from really talking about getting a real estate team started and how to close hundreds of deals a year into like what we're truly passionate about is a model and a vehicle that allows agents to sell hundreds of homes a year,
right,
but not have to do it all yourself. So we can help. My motto, and this comes, I want to say, I'm not going to say, you can tell me who this was, but I'd rather help 100 agents each sell one home than one agent sell 100 homes, or me being that one agent selling 100 homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to add on to that just a little bit, because one thing that I've come to grips with is the fact that a brokerage is a brokerage, man. It really is. And people will never, I used to think, well, people should come with EXP because the brokerage is such a great place to be. And then I had a paradigm shift. And then I started to realize people don't come to a brokerage. They join you. They join you. And so you have to be somebody that people would be willing to link arms with. That's who you have to be. Because the most valuable thing you will get with joining someone at EXP is not the brokerage. It will be the information you can gather from the individual that you're joining forces with. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. The brokerage, I mean, we could talk it. If you're a new agent, you're thinking about getting your license, let's be fully transparent here. You can go anywhere you want and be successful. Yeah. If you have the drive to be successful at selling homes, you can go anywhere.
Right.
You can learn everything either through some of the training in the office. You can find just about everything you need on YouTube. You can go on the internet. You figure out scripts and everything's out there.
Right.
The question is, where do you want to go from being a salesperson or a marketer specifically to buyers and sellers? Where do you go? Where's your exit strategy? You alluded to that earlier, Mike. We just didn't have that before. Yeah. And now we have that. And that's what gets us super jazzed and, where we're all headed in the future. But yeah, you really link arms with the people that you're getting into business with.
Right.
And that's really special.
The one thing I always say too is the difference between where you are and where you want to be is what you don't know. And that's why the information is the treasure. You always ask people, like, what's more important, the treasure or the map, right? Well, the treasure doesn't exist without the map. The map is the information, right? And so like what you will get when you join forces with somebody like myself or somebody like you, Jeff, is you will get the map to the treasure. And that's the most important piece, because How many times have we heard stories of multi-million or multi-billionaires losing it all? But what happens? They get it back.
Get it all back.
Because they have the information, right? Information doesn't go anywhere. That if someone wins the lottery, right? How many times have we heard the story where somebody wins $30 million? They piss it all away. Why? Because they haven't become the person that knows how to keep $30 million. They didn't become that. You don't get $30 million by not becoming somebody different. That's why when you do get $30 million and you haven't become that person, you don't keep it. It goes away.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Your business will only grow to the level that you do.
Correct.
Yeah, and we talk about this all the time with time blocking and your personal goals first, and the purpose of your business and the money you make is so it can support the lifestyle that you want to live. So that's what gets us jazzed, is the ability for us to do this now. Mike, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. I want to reel us back into some specifics as far as back to your business. So let me ask you, what do you feel is the biggest opportunity in your business right now?
For me,
Stumper.
The number one thing I'm focused on right now, honestly, is figuring out the best vehicle for delivering critical information to the people that need to receive it. And I don't know. We kind of talked about this at the beginning. Social media is a great platform. I used to be kind of jaded with social media, you know what I mean? But I'm starting to realize it is a fantastic tool, not only to be able to build people up, but also to share information. Because there are people looking for information out there. And so that's why when you do podcasts or when you do short videos, and you can distribute them appropriately and get them into the right hands, you deserve that business. My consumer now is not buyers and sellers. My consumer is the real estate agent. And so when you talk about where am I headed, what am I focused on, it's going to be delivering great content, not to the masses, Jeff, not to the masses, to the people that are looking to grow and get better in real estate. And that's my major focus right now.
That is awesome, which is great. And the message here is that, because I asked you what your biggest opportunity was, and with opportunity always comes challenge. And what you had mentioned is your challenge now is to find the right mediums to be able to share your message, to share your content, and to get it out there. I think what we're doing right now is probably one of the best ways, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Plus your Facebooks are awesome, guys. Go follow Mike Wall on Facebook. You should check out his videos he does from his Jeep. You guys got to check out his Jeep too. I'm going to share my screen really quick. I'm going to show your Jeep, dude. Here we go. Hold on. Let me move it. That thing's awesome, man. I love seeing that.
I appreciate it, man.
Let me see if this shows up. I don't know if you can see that. Can you guys see that, or are you just seeing my background?
It's a big shout out to South Florida Jeeps down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They did the Jeep for me, man.
Oh, that is so awesome. Let me see here. Yeah, it's not showing up. But anyways, that is awesome stuff. Well, Mike, dude, we could probably just continue this conversation and go on and on and on about all of these different pieces about our company, about opportunities, about being a new agent and launching, building, and the ability to scale. So in order for our viewers and our listeners to take away one message today, because we talked about a lot of stuff, so we can kind of unpack things. What would be the one message that you would want to share with everyone today?
Yeah. So this is a message of survival. And we did talk about this, but I want to reiterate it, okay? Because the formula for success in real estate is not the same for everyone. And here's why. Because we're all good at something, but it's usually never the same thing. So I would urge your audience, Jeff, to figure out what it is they're truly passionate about in real estate, and then go all in on that, right? There is so much of what I call the shiny squirrel syndrome. There's so much to distract us, to get us off track. But if you find out what you're passionate about and you come in each and every day. It's like when you're digging a tunnel, right? We know when you're digging a subway tunnel, every day they dig a few feet. Every day they dig a few feet, but they get closer to the end of that hole, right? And oftentimes it seems like a thankless job, right? You come in, you make 100 dials, you make 200 dials, you make 300 dials, nothing shows up. But I promise you this, you come in, you dig every day, you make the calls every day, and business will start to show up. And it may not even come from the calls you're making. You may just get a random call from an uncle saying, hey, I saw you're in real estate. I want to list my $350,000 house, right? But it will come because you reap what you sow, my friend. And it is a truth, and it will always be a truth. So whether you're struggling right now or you're having success, just double down on what you're doing and continue to do it every day, and the success will show up.
Love it. Love it. You got it, Mike. It's like the water spigot analogy. You know, when you first start pumping the well, it's hard. It's hard work. And a lot of time you don't get water out right away.
Right.
You have to keep pumping that well until eventually you can kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And then you can hear the water coming up the pipe. And all of a sudden it starts to get a little bit easier. And then the water starts to flow out. And before you know it, you just have a nice steady pump going on that. You can even take your hand off of it for a little while. Don't leave it too long because that water will stop.
Yeah.
And then you have to start all over again. Just keep a nice steady flow on that. So Mike, great parting words for our audience. Great information, great stuff. We're going to have to do this again and really dig deep on some really specific strategies and tactics as you continue to build your modern team. So this has been an incredible conversation. Appreciate everything that you've shared with me and our audience. Can't thank you enough for spending time with me today.
Always fun, brother. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Modern Agent live stream with me. I'm Jeff Ruby. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you for listening. We do broadcast this show every week on multiple platforms. So don't forget to subscribe, like, comment below, ding the bell so you don't miss any great videos that we do on a weekly basis. And until next time, guys, see ya.